yes, there are going to be things, and I'll just say there are going to be things coming out. They're going to they're going to add even more containment techniques, and it's like we're excited about it. It's coming soon, but yeah, you'll see it real soon. Yeah.
Okay, so where can somebody purchase this stuff? Is it in the big box stores, to distributors, from you guys? You know, where do people go to get the reusable systems?
So we sell it directly online and on Amazon, but we also just recently, actually as of yesterday, just launched with Wesco Hazmasters Connie Safety. So that's in Hazmasters in Canada, Connie Safety's in the US. There are several locations of Aramco that have started carrying it. So we believe it'll start going more system-wide. And we have several big distributors testing this out right now. And so hopefully it's going to be everywhere soon. No big box yet, but we have companies like HD Supply and people like that reaching out to us to test it. So, and we're in some locations in UK and Australia, and we're starting to spread. So,
that's good to hear, because we've also recently been doing stuff in Australia, the UK, South Africa. So we're definitely having an impact in a lot of different locations too. And for us, it makes it easier when we refer to a system or a product, or at least a type of technology, people are familiar with it, especially when we're going outside the US. So that makes a big difference. So that's a good thing. All right. How about contact info for you? What's your website for people to go to?
www.reuzip.com. You can contact us at email at info@reuzip.com.
All right. Any last question here? Any upcoming trade shows we can find yet?
I think next one we'll be at ServPros trade show, their big one in Tampa Bay in June. That's their national conference. That might be more exclusive to them, but yeah, nothing on the schedule just yet. We've been focusing a lot this year on the new products that we got coming out, but we'll be back in the circuit again probably next year.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you spending the time with us. I know it's a big time difference. I'm on the East Coast, you're on the West Coast, but I do appreciate you being here, and we'll do this again when you can tell us about some of the other super secret stuff that's coming out.
No, we'd love that.
We appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Lance.
Hey, Restorers. Thanks for checking out a quick bonus episode of the Restoration Today podcast. I love keeping up with Normie and what's going on with Normie, because when it comes to technology and innovation, Lance Eisen, who is their VP of Business Development, knows what's up, and his tech savviness is just beyond me and my little podcast here. So I'm excited to be joined by Lance for a few minutes here to talk about Normie Connect and what that is. And it's going to be a different way that restorers and cleaners and IAQ pros can keep up with everything that's going on in the industry, pretty much any possible way that you want to keep up with it. So Lance, thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to have you introduce yourself first. And I'm also curious how you got so tech savvy in the first place. Like, did this start as a hobby and now you just know of all the radio platforms and podcast platforms and all these, carrying your own internet with you and building TVs and monitors? I mean, my mind is blown. So go ahead and introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background and how you got here.
Well, thank you, Michelle. And I don't even know where to start with my background, because it's kind of really diverse from this industry. I started with a law enforcement career for 25 years, emergency medical technician. It's kind of how I got into the technology side. And I think I've become a technology junkie at this point, on the 12-step program, I think, to cure this. But I actually do a training about technology, and one of the taglines is "Don't fear the technology, embrace it." Because if you've been doing this industry for 20, 30 years, that's great, but it's changing, and kicking and screaming, we all got to go there. just to be able to keep up.
Yep.
I recently got into a discussion with somebody about automation and how automation was going to replace all the workers. And I said, that's not really true. And if you look at, I use the automobile industry as an example. They used to have assembly lines with people building cars. Then they automated and brought robots in to build the cars, and they replaced all of those workers with people now that have to fix all the robots and program the robots and do all. So the manpower demand is still there. If not, it's grown, but it's a technology change. You got to stay with it or try anyways.
I totally agree. That was the biggest emerging trend in the State of Industry report that came out, is was related to AI, which is a little same, a little different, whatever. But technology is growing so fast, and people are definitely paying attention. So, all right. So, explain what Normie Connect is for people who are not familiar with it.
Normie Connect is a concept that really came out of discussions like we're having now. I've talked with a lot of people, and there always seems to be a disconnect of information. People are starving for information. That's why they go to the internet. The problem is when you go to the internet, there's no validation as to what you're getting, and you have to try to figure out where to go. So we looked at what we do and what we've been doing with Normie TV for about 5 years. And people seem to be really enjoying getting their media through video. So we figured, let's take it to the next step. And we started to produce as much video content as we could on Normie TV or normie.tv. Well, the next step to that would be answering the question that a lot of people have: why aren't you on YouTube? Why aren't you on Twitch? Why aren't you here? And people have their preferences.
Yep.
People drive Chevys, Fords, Mercedes. They have their preference. So we figured, let's put it out there so people can consume media with the flavor they prefer. And Normie Connect is really the concept of putting all the different platforms and types of media together and putting the media out there for people to consume. We are on, at the moment, 15 streaming TV channels. All the popular ones. There's even some non-popular ones that are out there. A lot of international stuff. We just added another one today as we're doing this, 6 radio streaming platforms. The one we added today boasts 50 million users a month.
Wow.
Those are massive numbers. Well, it sounds big, but YouTube is 1.2 billion users a month.
Yeah.
Twitch is 150 million users a month. I mean, the numbers are astronomical as to how much media is consumed on these platforms. And we're on 13, 14 as of today podcast platforms. So wherever you want to go, you can just do a search on Normie or Normie Connect, and you can consume the media that we're putting out there.
Okay, so from somebody who understands a little bit of the logistics of background technology like this, are you having to separately put stuff on all of these different platforms? There must be some connectivity, but it sounds like a lot to manage in the background.
There's a lot of new technology making the technology possible.
Okay.
It's kind of like they couldn't develop faster computers because they needed slower computers to develop the paths to get to faster computers. So that's kind of where we're at. We're using technology to push the technology. With that being said, I run in my office, I'm actually running 8 computers with 10 screens. So this is managing multiple TV platforms, multiple Zoom meetings like we're doing right now, radio broadcasting, all going on at the same time, all run through the office here. I mean, the biggest challenge I had was having to bring in additional internet connectivity capabilities to run all the equipment. Other than that, it's really automation helping the automation.
8 computers and 10 screens. That sounds, awful. So better you than me.
Well, you can get a tan sitting here,
I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Radiation or something. There's something happening.
But
okay, so Go ahead. Go ahead.
But you have to understand some of these computers were called microcomputers. Actually, 3 of them I actually built. They're called Raspberry Pis. That's actually the type of computer. It runs on a Linux operating system. The entire computer is the size of a pack of cigarettes.
Huh.
And it just says things that you plug in. I have multiple monitors running off of them, external memory hooked into them, keyboards, wireless mice, all hooked into this little box the size of a pack of cigarettes. So I have several of those running for monitoring. I don't need big computers and a lot of horsepower for that. So, we're using different types of automation, different types of computers to make sure things are running smoothly. I know if one of my 7-inch monitors goes down, well, there's a problem with whatever was streaming to that, and it's easy to fix.
That's impressive. And I'm going to Google Raspberry
Pi.
Raspberry Pi.
Yeah. You will be absolutely astonished to the usage of what they do with those things now.
I'm going to research that after. Okay, so what kind of content is on Normie Connect? Why should people be listening in? And talk to, what's there for restorers? What's there for cleaners? What's there for IAQ pros? Because I know that you have a lot of different conversations and different content that's on there. So talk about how there's kind of something for everybody and what's there.
Well, if you look at Normie Connect from a distance, it's all about indoor air quality, IAQ.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everything that you just mentioned comes under IAQ, indoor air quality. It's everything from the remediation to the assessment to the dry out companies, rug cleaners, air conditioning companies, duct cleaners. It's all indoor air quality. Chemistry that we use, it's all indoor air quality. So that is the general market under indoor air quality. Now we split that into multiple categories. The 2 biggest ones are the consumer and the contractor. Our content is really based for both. And that's a fine line to walk, but we feel it's necessary because the contractors are dealing with a more educated consumer now. They're going out on the internet, they're finding out what is real, what kind of work should be done. And we're trying to keep it where this is the industry standard. These are the best practices. This is what is expected by insurance companies. Both sides, consumer and contractor, need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
You should never be working for a customer that knows more about your industry than you do.
No. No.
And for those of you that are out there that have done work, assessment work especially, or inspection type work for a customer, and you find out that, an hour into your assessment that they're a microbiologist, it's surprising that they may know more than you. So we try to put the information out there to even the playing field for everybody. You have your industry standards, you have your educated consumer, you have your educated contractor. It's the one big sandbox, and it just makes it so much easier for everybody.
Yes, totally agree. Okay, so people are interested in engaging with Normie Connect. You can go to normie.org or normie.org and look at the top and find Normie Connect at the top, or normie.org/connect. A couple ways you can find it. But what if people are what are the most popular platforms? Let's say people are listening to this from their phone or driving in their car. What's the fastest way to start engaging?
Well, the easiest way is to go to normieconnect.com. That takes you right to the main page. That gives you all your options. You can also go to normie.org, like you mentioned, and we have the Normie Connect menu option, which will let you pick if you want streaming TV, streaming radio, podcasts. You can get the Normie app, which is app.normie.org, which gives you access to all of the Normie Connect features. So we're trying to make it convenient. And it's funny you had mentioned about Normie Radio, because we went in that direction because we heard from a lot of our people that they want to listen to us, especially when we're doing live broadcasts, but they're driving in their vehicle. Mm-hmm. And watching Zoom or trying to do something on Zoom while you're driving is dangerous, to say the least.
Yes. Yep.
So what we did was we went to an audio only platform, and we now broadcast audio only on the radio platforms, and there's 6 different ones. These are the most common ones out there. Normie Radio, that's the easiest one to get to. There's Radio Garden, Radio.net, MyTuner, Live Online Radio, and they all boast, millions and millions of followers across their platforms. So whichever you prefer, we're there. And because it's streaming audio only, even weaker signals are received very well. You don't have to worry about freezing video and everything else. So in your car, walking around with a headset, that is the easiest way to listen to our content.
Okay.
24/7.
How do you find all these new platforms to get your podcasts and TV and radio and all that on? I mean, you were talking about 2 that you just added today, and you have dozens now at this point between all of the different ways that people can engage in media. So how do you find these?
Well, besides the research and looking for them, we're now starting to see which the platform that I added today, they found us.
Oh,
These are streaming platforms that are podcast platforms and streaming video. And they reached out to us, basically. I got a invitation a few days ago saying, please add your channel. And we did. They do an approval process on it. And our podcast came up earlier today, and our radio channel just came up. So I guess they watch other radio platforms and they start to notice new add-ons, and that's how we found this latest one. Other than that, I do the research for it and looking for different platforms, and it fills a need.
I love it. It's impressive. Every time we talk, you have some multiple new places that you have content streaming on. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you want people to know before we wrap it up?
Yeah, the Normie app is something I would just want to talk about real quick. And to get to that, it's app.normie.org. And that'll give you your options of downloading it from either the iPhone store, the Google Play Store. It's out there. You can just search on Normie, or if you go to our app page, the direct links are there. Everything that we've just talked about, the radio, the TV, that's all on the app. Plus, we have other free trainings on the app that are available. I even have some games out there, indoor air quality games or adventures that you get to go through. I think there's 8 or 9 of them out there now. I see a smile on your face. Is that your afternoon planned ahead of us here?
It is probably now. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's very simple. There's a training option there. You hit training, and then you'll see Normie Adventures. It's right there, and they're easy. It's not something that you're going to bang your head against the desk trying to figure out, but I don't think you've seen anything like this anyplace before, especially with indoor air quality.
Okay, I'm going to check it out. Now I do know what my afternoon plans are. Maybe I'll have my son do it. He's very tech savvy. I like it. Okay, Lance, well, thank you very much for being here. Again, you can go to normieconnect.com or normie.org. Any way you search it on your favorite platform, it's probably there. So just search it there too. I'm sure it's going to be there.
Absolutely.
Lance, congrats on all the innovating. It's truly impressive. I'm always amazed at all of the things that you're doing. And thanks to all that Normie does as well. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day.
Thank you for having me.
The following broadcast is made possible by supporters of the Normie Environmental Task Force, the Experience Trade Show and Convention, Reusip, EnviroScreening Lab, and Best Living Systems.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Balzano, group publisher at BNP Media with R&R and the Experience Events. And welcome to episode 2 of Trade Talks, Unlocking the Experience, our weekly venture into the great event that we're running right now. And we're so proud to be here. Joining me is my partner in crime, the editor-in-chief of R&R, the lovely Mildred Ingram, as always. And I'm so proud. Our guest today, he's an educator, a business owner, a speaker, a leader, a husband, a father. He's a microbial warrior. He is a gymnast, I just found out.
What? And a
Here's get
writer.
started. Hold on. He's a 50-year industry veteran. He's been to more experiences than I ever will. And he's just a good guy. Please welcome Barry Costa.
All right.
Hey!
I know.
Well, you know, gymnast, that's in my a long time ago. Now rounds in official shape, not found on a Wheaties box, and that's me now.
Hey, once you have it in you, you can still do it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the joke, right? What do you mean? I am in shape. I'm round, right?
Yeah, there you go. There we go. And Mildred, you will
Okay.
visit me in the hospital if I try to do it again.
Oh no.
Barry, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. You know what? I want to. We don't get to talk about the experience in depth, I promise. But I was looking back at your career. For the three people who don't know, it's amazing. You've really done so much. When did you get started with the Costa Group?
With a cost group. Well, actually, I had a cost group in Peterborough, New Hampshire, when Carol and I lived out on the East Coast. And then about 11 years ago, we moved to Arizona. And so it's been in existence for quite a few years. Prior to that, I had the Carpet and Cleaning Craftsman, carpet cleaning, restoration, carpet installation company that I was doing right along as well. And prior to that, it was my dad's company, Cost Group. Let's see, no, Costa Carpet Company Incorporated. You got to have your C's in order, right? And learn how to walk, keep back on my knees again. And that's how it all started when I was 12 years old.
That's amazing. Then you were a public school teacher as well for 10 years.
Yeah. 10 years. I taught at the elementary school in Peterborough, New Hampshire, and very proud to say I was a teacher of the year with the New Hampshire Physical Education Association. So it's kind of nice. I really enjoyed it. The kids were great, and the parents were awesome.
That's wonderful. And then eventually you joined like you said, your dad's company.
Yeah.
And here we are. It's 2023, just like that, right? It seems
well, you know, it was amazing. We smashed the atoms together. I was a school teacher, but I had been doing this my whole life. And in fact, I talked to my sister this past week. She came to Thanksgiving with us here in Arizona. And she said, Mom was so upset. We spent all that money to put you through Springfield College to be a school teacher. Then you started a carpet cleaning company again. I said, but look what I did to it. I smashed the atoms together. Now I'm teaching in the industry that I love. And absolutely, it's not even work, it's play, as Nick Palella used to say. So
we've talked to a couple people on this interview. Yeah, indeed. We've talked to a few people on this interview and off the interview for sure. And they always seem to have the same. I said, well, gosh, you had a different background. What led you to restoration and all this? And they said, it's just the industry. We're helping people and we love doing it. And you can just see from your facial expression how passionate.
Well, yeah, helping people, that's what it's all about. I look at society today and I'm going, this is not the society I want for my son. Why aren't people really coming together and helping? Even Lincoln said a house divided will fall. And look at how much further we could be if everybody just helped a little bit and supported each other rather than step on each other. But so I'm not going to be a victim. I want to try to lead and hopefully get a lot of people along with me and others that are already doing it and make a difference.
That's what, I'm not surprised to hear that. It's wonderful. And that's the kind of guy. I've known you for a year. And honestly, you're one of the best people I know already.
Then you don't know very many people, do you, Michael? I mean,
I
feel
you're in the top 5 for sure.
No, very great.
Now, how many experience events have you been to?
All of them except the very first,
Gotcha.
Which was the Luxor, way back in 1999. And that was actually when it was Connections, and 4 associations came together to create that first meeting of connecting people together. And but every experience I've been to.
That's amazing. And your role it's probably changed quite a bit throughout the years, I would think.
Oh gosh, it really has. And working with Larry Cooper all those years, Larry and I have been best friends for so long, And I'm really happy to see him move now in another direction. He's going to build some new things. He wants the baby that they grew, obviously, to grow, and it's in great hands with you guys. That's why I said when you asked, "Hey Barry, would you mind helping us?" Absolutely. I mean, it's all about the event, and part of that event was being with your friends and doing things with your friends. But yeah, I've been involved in every one of them, the experiences, and each one is its own unique energy. It's hard to describe, and it's so funny how themes begin to grow out of them with each one.
Almost naturally. And I've only been to two. Like, absolutely. They do
Yeah.
naturally grow. Yeah. It's the
Yeah.
people. It's the people.
It really is, and it's the energy that develops within the event all in itself. And seeing people you haven't seen for at least 6 months or a year, and some of the best education happens literally when people get together and they start sharing, "Hey, this is happening. Have you ever had that happen? And what do you do?" And it isn't just the events that are organized by the organizers of the event. It's the
Yep.
side events that go on that really make it worthwhile as well.
Yep.
This year, as everybody knows, there are 2 experience events each year. The first next one coming up April 3rd through the 5th at the Chattanooga Convention Center in lovely Chattanooga, Tennessee. Registration is open now. Get sign up to be an attendee and be at this event. Early bird rates go until the 31st of January. rnrmagonline.com, our website. That's where you can find all the event information and sign up yourself. So let's talk about some memories, Barry. I know we talked a little bit off camera. Any
Oh yeah.
things you want to discuss or point out that we should know to the people?
Oh gosh. Well, let's see. I'm gonna look at it. I put some trivia questions here and stuff. In fact, like I said, in 1999, the first show that happened was well, let's step back even further than that. Prior to the connections and or the experience being developed, associations used to have their own mini conventions. I remember John Masuri, who was Ohio Steamway, Dick Hook out of Michigan. These gentlemen were the pioneers of doing schools in our industry, and the various associations would put on their own convention. Well, think as a vendor now. You've spent an awful lot of money to support the association, their convention, but you only have an audience of about 50 people for traffic. Well, when you look at the ROI on that, it's not very nice, but yet the vendors were always there to support the associations. And I was so impressed. So 4 associations, some history here, 4 associations came together. They met, and that birthed the first connections in 1999 at the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas. From that, it grew into a bigger amoeba with lots more pseudopodia sticking out there. And then there was a change in guard. Larry Cooper came in. He was managing the Connections events, but then they switched and it became the Experience with Meetings and Events running it. And from there, history's in its wake here. But I think some of the greatest memories, well, there were times when sadly people passed away. And during that event, people celebrated the life of those people. Some real icons of our industry, Cy Gant, for instance, from the carpet industry itself. He was on the board of the IICRC as well. And Tom Hill once told me, when Cy speaks, be quiet and listen. This is a man of great knowledge. We also had celebrations of Bill Yaden and Colleen's anniversary at one of them. But then we also had retirements when Jeff Bishop retired, Tom Hill, his wife Carol Lee, Lindsay Barlow, they all retired. We also had a celebration during the event for these people. So if you didn't know the people in the background that actually ran our industry, you had a chance to meet them up front, personal. And some of the events, oh my God, the first Flood House, and we always made it a show. We had this one time. A set of stairs. We had a toilet up at the top, and two 55-gallon buckets of water waiting that nobody could see behind the curtain. You know, it's like the Wizard of Oz here. And we hired a person who went up the stairs in a bathrobe, and he's singing. He was all mic'd up. He's singing. This is how we allowed people into the trade show. They walk over, they're watching this guy just hamming it up like crazy. He sat down on the toilet broke. He fell down the stairs because he was a professional. All the water's coming with him, and that's how we introduced the flood house. So we've always tried to have a great time with people and set the tone of, it isn't just education, guys. You know, we work our tails off. Let's get together. Let's have a great time. Let's have a party. And yeah, let's learn too while we're at it.
When was that? When was the first flood house?
Where was the first flood house? You would ask me that. I think it was. I think it was at the Hilton. Okay, because we in the order we went from the Luxor to the Riviera. The Riviera was always known as being smoky. We didn't really like that.
It's
place.
a lot.
We were there once. Then the Hilton, Las Vegas Hilton. Then we went to the Mirage, Paris, and now we're at Caesars Forum, as we will be in September. I think it's what are the dates, Mike, for September?
September 4th to the 6th, the day after
4 to
Labor
6,
Day.
yeah. And it's going to be at the same location as we were last year. But there's been a flood house at every one of those events in Vegas, starting with the Hilton, at least. And we've had it ever since. And then even the pavilions have increased in size. We've had vendors like Phoenix and Normie building their things. Clean Right in the center field of the trade show would do some hands-on. So, you know, everyone wants hands-on. Come to the show. You're going to get plenty.
That's the experience. That's the experience.
Well, you know what? I'm going to step back. I hope you don't mind me dominating here for a second.
No,
you asked about a memorable time. It all of a sudden clicked. It was really interesting. In fact, I sent you a few files of the history of the event. At the Hilton, up on the 28th floor, there were three, huge rooms. They were the best rooms in the hotel. And we didn't I interviewed the Hilton staff to find out if they had some problems with their carpets that could be fixed. So they sent me a bunch, and we actually took a crew of people during the event, went up and did live repairs on their carpet. And I had people who have never touched the tools before doing these repairs, sweating bullets, but I told them, no matter what you do, I can undo it and fix it. So I'm not worried about that. But the Hilton got a couple $1,000s worth of free repairs by allowing us to use their facility live. And we did that also in Clearwater Beach and a bunch of places where they were getting free repairs, free carpet cleaning and things, getting people to actually do their trade in the building, surrounded by experts in the field to kind of give them some hints or tricks of the trade to solve some problems. So that was really fun.
Amazing.
That was really fun.
Amazing.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Off camera, before we started, you were telling me a story about Clearwater also about, and we were discussing how it's just everybody loved going there, but we just got too big. And but you said something about when the flood was going to happen, but it's going to happen.
Oh, Clearwater Beach, Florida. Everybody loved the white sand and the camaraderie ship. And isn't it great that a show outgrows the venue? But every single year, we knew that at some time during the event, we were going to have a water damage in the trade show because Florida, obviously, towels required 24/7, but you always had rain in the early afternoon, late afternoon, and we would have a crew every year have to dry out a portion of the trade show, which was in the garage below the hotel, and it would flood out annually. So we already, by the second time it happened, we already lined up, okay, you're going to supply the air movers, you're bringing the truck. But we had a crew ready to go.
If only there were people that knew how to dry and clean and restore here. Oh wait,
you might think there'd be a few, but go figure. We're going to teach about this, and we got live activity with it. But the sign of a good show is when things go on in the background that aren't planned for, but the participants never know about it. So you're hearing about it now because we never let people know that the place got water damage. You had a crew down there drying it up overnight and things like this. But because that happens in shows, and R&R, you guys are going to do awesome. Look, little tidbits of things are going to come up, and you just deal with them. You move on, and you always have a smile on your face.
Mhm.
We appreciate that, Barry.
Yeah,
Sure.
thank you, Barry. We went into this whole situation. It's been about a year now since we've been working with the Coopers and now our own. And
Yep.
and with our team, we instruct everybody. We don't even know close to everything. In fact, let's learn everything we can as long as we can and keep learning. And that's not just an experience thing. That's in life, right? You got
Yeah, you know what? You never stop learning. The moment you do,
Right.
you should be 6 feet
Mhm.
under.
Yeah.
And what
Exactly.
you know what's exciting about this, Mike and Mildred, is that Larry, Trina, Jennifer, Jill, the whole staff, they were a phenomenal group, a phenomenal team, fun friends. They're more my family than sometimes my family,
Yeah.
and we absolutely enjoyed working together. But Ralph Bloss said, "Change is inevitable, growth is optional." And I
Mhm.
think Walt Disney was quoted as saying the same thing. Of course, I'll give Ralph credit,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
bottom line, folks, now that R&R has the show, I can't wait to see what's going to come now. I mean, new ideas, expansion of what R&R brings to the show. The sky's like the limit of how this can evolve into something that, like every year, kept evolving to get better and better and better. I think the Coopers simply handed the baton to you and said, keep it going, baby, because we worked hard to bring it to here, and no one wants to see their baby fall apart,
Fail.
even in business. When you sell your company, you don't want to see it to go in the hole. You want to see it grow. And that's why I'm here helping. Sean's helping. A lot of the people that have helped the Coopers are here helping because it's about the show.
Yep.
We loved working with our friends, but it's about the show. It's about giving back to the industry, which is the first statement you said about giving back.
Mhm.
So let's keep this puppy rolling, and I can't wait to see the ideas you guys come up with.
We're doing our best. It's definitely we're walking a tightrope on. We want some new ideas. We definitely want to continue with the great traditions that were given to
That's
us
right.
too.
That's right.
And then that's okay. And that's why, as you mentioned, every year was new ideas coming from the Coopers and whatnot. We're going to try things like that as well. But
Yeah.
you'll see floods. You'll see cleaning areas. We'll see the whole. Trust me. Like I remember talking to Normie last year on the floor, and people are like,
Yep.
oh, they're going to change the name. They're like, no, come on, we're not going to do any of that.
No,
we're just
no.
going to take what's working and go. Let me ask you something, Barry.
Yeah.
It's been ingrained into me for last year that hands-on is the key to this, and that's the one thing that differentiates the experience from everything else. What are other reasons that you would know people would be in addition to that people need to get to experience events, either of them?
Well, you know what? It's actually great that you asked that, because when you look back at the days of the Riviera, the first shows, it was mainly about cleaning. And then restoration, especially water, with the writing of S500. In fact, we had a session where we had the consensus body members at the show, and a good 3-hour program reviewing the new standard. And people in the audience could ask questions to the actual writers of why it says what it says, blah, 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 blah. And the doors were wide open. Well, at that point, the show then expanded from cleaning to add a lot of restoration. And then it kept adding more and more and more until Larry came up with the tracks of management, cleaning, restoration, remediation. Jeff Jones comes in. Abra came in before Jeff many years ago to do a biohazard situation, but Jeff came in and just wowed everyone with a microbial warrior presentation. And then we tried the cage. And it sounds like the cage.
Yeah, not familiar. We need to hear about this.
In this cage, we had like a 3-ring circus, a center area, like a circus, outside areas, and there were multiple activities going on at the same time. Then we added contests to it. So yeah, the continual evolution, but hands-on is what everyone wants to have. And what R&R is going to be able to bring, I believe, is you're connected with many more industries outside of cleaning, restoration. You're connected with the installation community. You're connected in so many venues that and a lot of us, like I said, I grew up installing carpet, not cleaning it. We started cleaning in 1970. So what I think R&R is going to be able to do, like Larry and Trina were doing, and Jennifer, expanding the tracks, is you're going to theoretically be able to continue to expand the tracks as to what is hot in the industry right now. Case in point, World Floor Covering Association and CFI. Their number one challenge is getting people to become carpet installers, flooring installers. You can make all the greatest materials in the world, but if you don't have a workforce to install it, what good is making it? So CFI, I just noticed again, they've got for 100 people, they're putting out they're giving people tuition to training for the first 100 people. So that's an example. And you guys with your magazine, you're so connected with so many groups and people. Larry's big thing was he always wanted to keep expanding the science, expanding the knowledge, and look at the opportunities R&R has right now with the connections you have with people that have never been to the experience. So it's always nice to have new speakers, new concepts, new thoughts. And that's why I'm so excited about the baton being handed to you guys, that it's going to be successful. It can't fail. With that positive energy and the outreach you have, let's make it happen.
Yeah,
that's great.
We won't let it.
You know, it's all year long. Mildred and I have been talking, and we've been talking to our coworkers and the industry about, you know, we got to find a way to usher in the next generation. And every time I start talking about that, I feel like some of our veteran people give me, "What do you mean?" I go, and I have to pull out my AARP card. I go, no, I don't need to. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying we need to be the mentor to the next generation. Bring them in. And I talked to Jeff Jones and some other people who speak almost every time about our experiences, and said maybe we'll wait till Las Vegas. Let's get a couple new people, and there's new ideas and new things in here, and I want to make sure they're not offended, and they get it completely. We need them around, like you and me and Jeff and all those people.
So, well, like you said, the constant expansion. Normie brought in a Spanish track for those that Espanol is their primary language. You're absolutely correct, Michael. We have new people come in that aren't seasoned veterans in the industry. This show to them is one huge, I'm lost. It's kind of like surface. I'm lost. There's so many things going on. So some guidance for them to say, hey, welcome into the industry. We recommend you do this. If you've never done this work, we've got from the basics to the most seasoned veterans activities going on. And where do you fit? And maybe a mentor program where you have people that'll tag along with these people to get them introduced to other people out there. I mean, it goes with the name, connections initially, and what an experience. And we want that to always be a positive, formidable experience for people.
That's wonderful. Mildred, any questions?
No, definitely not.
On the spot?
No questions. No questions. I've already asked a couple of questions that I had.
April 3rd.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
No,
April 3rd to the 5th. And April 3rd to the 5th, Chattanooga Convention Center, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Spell out r&rmagonline.com. It's our website. I wish I could change that, but that's okay. That's our URL.
That's it.
That's okay. We'll have links and we'll go to it. So early bird rates until the 1st of January. This is great. Barry will be there. Mildred will be there. I'll be there. We're all going to be there. Why don't you? What's keeping you from coming? We're going to have a good time. I think that we're doing as a good.
Yeah, no, listen, Barry. I wouldn't miss it. I wouldn't miss it at all. It should be a great time. And for everyone listening to this podcast, unless you've been involved at this level of organizing an event like this, you have no clue the energy and work that goes in. So it's exciting to work with this new family that I'm with right now. The Coopers, I want to be a Cooper because they brought all their grandkids to Annie, and that had to cost an arm and a leg. But you know what? I love Larry and Trina, and Larry's like my brother, and it's so nice because look, we're not getting younger, we're getting older. his focus right now is on his kids, his grandkids, where it should be. And they're still active. They've got a new venture they're opening up with wellness and health. And it's only going to succeed for them as well. Just like this baton is going to succeed with R&R. So thanks for allowing me to play with you guys in the event. Hopefully I bring a little seasoning of experience that I can, hey, that's a great idea. No, we already did that.
Yep.
Let me tell you what happened.
Yeah,
But you know what? It might work this time.
I've told you 100 times, we need your brain, Barry, badly. So
oh
it's like a scarecrow occasionally over here. But I got a trick question I'll leave you with. This is a hard one for somebody of your stature, but do you have a favorite experience moment that you can think of? What, that was quite funny or whatever? I'll never forget that. I know. I should have warned you about that.
Well, you know what? I have to be selfish for once in my life, okay? Because Clean Facts did an article and asked 4 questions, and it was all about giving. But I'm going to take the moment to receive at this moment. I think the biggest moment for me, we had just lost our daughter to cancer, Kim, back in the year 2000. And in the background, there was so much activity going on with not only the staff, but the convention itself, the vendors, friends, colleagues. We raised $28,000 for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society during that event. And my heart was so touched. And I put together a PowerPoint presentation for my daughter's funeral. And they allowed me to actually present it at the experience. And I started crying. I just told everybody, you're my family. You're my family. And so with Chattanooga and Vegas, hey, I want to see my family because none of us know when it's going to be our turn next. So wouldn't it be a shame that we missed that opportunity to be together again and tell people I love you, tell people let's support each other, let's make a difference in the world. And as my daughter would say, her 5th life lesson, touch as many lives as you can. And when she said those words, she was staring at her dad. So she basically told me what my purpose of being on the earth is. And I appreciate you allowing me to share this because this is how open I try to be with everyone. And if it's positive, I hope it rubs off. If it's negative, then I'm so sorry because it is what it is. I am who I am. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. And but I really, really want things to go so positive for everybody. And together we have so much more power. So I'll see you all in Tennessee and Vegas. Let's party hard and let's work hard.
Yeah, you have my word. That's what we're going to do. And thank you for sharing that with all of us, Barry. Really, just being around you, you exude positivity and optimism, and so I'm glad you took the time to join us today and be a part of the show, being part of the events in general. It's just a huge, really, really thank you.
Well, thank you.
I think that's it. I think that's episode 2 is in the can, as they say in the industry. Trade Talks, Unlocking the Experience. I'm Mike Balzano, Mildred Ingram, and our guest, Barry Costa. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
When you start on the pathway toward professional success, you have to know what the goal is and how to get there. Normie exists to help in that process. It's not just about taking a class to get a license, but also about starting on a pathway to professional success. Whether you want to work for yourself or be the best qualified employee on the team, this path will take you there and help you succeed. Pick a track, click on the class, and get your journey started. Normie is here to support you all the way to become the Normie Pro professional you want to be.
I want to welcome my next 2 guests, Doug Hoffman from Normie and Larry Cooper from Restoration Journeys. Now, there's a special synergy between the 2 of them, so this interview is going to be a little different. Normally, I'd be asking questions and doing a Q&A, but I am just going to tee this up for the 2 of them because they seem to have conversations that just go in all kinds of directions, so it's really good to watch. So the main focus here is Restoration Journeys is having a special event coming up in April. I'll let them talk about the dates and the timing on that. But we're also having a training associated with Normie at the same time. So this will be a learning event on the beach in Mexico. I'll leave it at that. And Doug, I'm going to turn this over to you and let you and Larry have a conversation.
Great. Thanks, Lance. Yeah, I was going to grab the mic because I got all kinds of questions. But I want to set this up if I can. I'm very excited to announce, for those of you who don't know, Normie has a 20-year anniversary. We were actually founded in 2004, which means 2024 is our 20th birthday or 20th anniversary, however you want to look at it. And I'm so excited about this. I was telling somebody the other day that when you've gone through the financial crisis of 2008 and 9 and the pandemic of 2020 and you're still surviving, I think that's a pretty good sign. Maybe you got something important to say. And we've just been so fortunate to be able to build a really strong trade association across the years, teaching and filling, I think, in some ways, a void for some of the training that's out there. Many of you know Normie, the National Organization of Remediators and Microbial Inspectors, is the only trade association right now that's approved for all of the states that require licensing. And that's huge. We do training on both sides of the industry for assessment and remediation. And we do a lot of certification on indoor air quality, which, as we know, since 2020 has become kind of a big deal, breathing clean air. And so we've got a lot of things that we've been doing over the last few years. And I just want to tell you at the onset of this discussion that Larry has been incredibly instrumental in throwing us in front of this industry. We, in a lot of ways, were kind of in the background. A lot of people didn't know who we were. In fact, I'm going to ask Larry to start that way. When we first met, he didn't know who we were. And that's only been a few years ago. But apparently, even he likes what we do. And so he made an effort to put us in front of the industry. And so I'm going to introduce Larry. If you don't know who Larry is, he worked with the IICRC for many, many years. He was the owner of The Experience, which is one of the best conferences in the restoration industry. And so, Larry, tell us a little bit about yourself, and maybe you can mention how we met.
Fantastic. Hey, thank you. 20 years, that is something else, to say the least. And it's really been a joy to work with good people like you and Lance and others that I've met at Normie. It's just been fantastic. So I got into the industry when I was 15 years old. I did my first water damage job in 1973 and learned a lot about what we don't know about the industry. And we're still learning today, to say the least. But what I can tell you is that education is so critically important. Certification is vital when you're doing these restoration and remediation jobs, and ongoing relationships with other companies, with associations, really makes or breaks your own organization. So I met Doug through a gentleman at ISSA, and he said, "Well, you know Doug, don't you?" And I'm like, "Does he know me?" I don't know him. But nonetheless, we met a couple of days later and we just clicked. I mean, you know, an honorable, fantastic person is easy to work with. And it makes the relationship so much stronger. And you guys are all amazingly lucky to be able to work with Doug Hoffman. There aren't many Doug Hoffmans in the world, and he takes care of what he says he's going to do. He takes care of his members. And my relationship with him with the Experience Convention and Trade Show was he always over-exceeded my expectations of what was going to happen. They did more hands-on remediation and restoration than anybody else. It was just fantastic to watch. So we started the company called Restoration Journeys about 14 years ago. And really what it's about is having educational programs somewhere in the world. And the reason we do it somewhere in the world is so that you can combine travel, relaxation, networking, meeting new people with great educational programs. And our goal is to make sure that you're pampered wherever we are, but we're going to be in Puerto Vallarta at the Marriott Resort and Spa. And this all-inclusive location is just wonderful. So it is great to have the opportunity to meet new people there. A lot of folks make lifetime friends at these events. And our program is dynamite. So what's included in our package then is 5 nights at the Puerto Vallarta Marriott. All meals and drinks are included. Yes, that includes alcohol if you do partake in that. There's fitness centers, Wi-Fi is included. All your taxes, fees, and gratuities are included. And there's optional excursions and tours if you want to go on them. And yes, children are welcome. So the good news is, for us at least, is we only have 4 rooms left. And so that's exciting. We've come a long way, and April is a wonderful time to be in Puerto Vallarta. And it's also a great time to gear up for the busy season, which starts throughout the summer right into the fall. You got to refresh yourself. I mean, working is great, and I love working. I'm a workaholic. There's no question about it. I retired for at least 2 weeks and decided that was stupid. So I have a whole new business plan that I'm working on right now. But you've got to take time and refresh and take a look at what you're doing and how you're doing it, and find ways to generate opportunities to just make a difference, not just to yourself, but to your employees and your customers and the world. So that's kind of what this is all about. It's a lot of fun. And Doug, I'm going to shut up and talk, because I did a lot of talking right there.
Well, you did, but that was good. I was going to tell you that when you started in 1973, I was 4 years old, but that's not
Liar.
That's not exactly true. But yeah, I've been married a year already. But anyway, yeah, we've got a lot of history behind us. I think the thing that's so exciting to me is that one of the things we've learned with our training, the training that we've done, is that there's something cool about a destination location and being able to go to a place where you get the opportunity to relax, but then get some education. I think that's a huge deal. But the other thing is that the networking opportunity is gigantic. And so I think those 3 aspects of this are really big to me. One is going to a place that's very, very comfortable. And of course, in April, where wouldn't you want to go except to the beach? I mean, hello. And then so you're going to a place where you're taken care of like a king. You get all your food and whatever else you need, all the rest you need on the beach. But the second thing is getting really good training, which I want to talk about for a second, at least what we're doing on our end. And I know you've got some other things planned, but then also having some network events. I think we're talking about maybe doing a little birthday party for Normie, and maybe we can do a really good networking event. One of the things that we learned in this industry, and Larry, you've spoken to this before, you've talked with me about this. One of the frustrating things in our industry for years has been this lone cowboy kind of, I'm going to do what I think is right, and I'm not going to talk to anybody else, and I'm not going to share my secrets to the business. That's all changed. And I think what's changed is the foundation of science that's now really, I think, driving our industry. There are no secrets. People are able to talk with each other and help each other. And the truth is that even if I had a small restoration company or even a large restoration company in New Orleans, Louisiana, there's a whole world out there that needs what I do. And I can't take claim on that entire market. So talk for a second, if you would, about what you've learned in terms of how this networking has become so important in our industries. Assessors talking to remediators, talking to restoration companies, talking to insurance adjusters, et cetera.
Well, and you hit it on the head with the industry has advanced more in the last 5 years than it did the previous 25 years in knowledge about science and technology of what we're doing on jobs. When I first started in the business, there was very little information, and today it's hard to keep up with it. I talk to a lot of people that say, oh, I went to a class 20 years ago, I'm just fine. You're not. Everything has changed. And when you're on site and you're relaxing, you have a drink, cocktail, we're at a party, cocktail party, or whatever we're doing, and you meet others in the industry that are doing something similar to what you're doing, or something different, like an inspector versus a remediator. What a great opportunity to open the door to a relationship that could be ongoing, and you learn from each other. And not everybody knows everything there is to know, even though some claim to. We're all in a place where we need to learn about what's happening out there in the real world and learn about the science and technology and actually the operation of applying it to our jobs. Networking at these opportunities like Restoration Journeys just lifts your company up to a new level. And if you get into a job situation where maybe you have questions, you've got people that you can contact. You can call and say, hey, have you run into this? Hey, what's your suggestion here? Or maybe they're calling you because they have a job that's way too big and they need help. Maybe you want to go help them. So, I mean, there's a whole different world out there with this networking opportunity and the collaboration that's built. We've been doing this for quite a few years. And I've got to tell you, there's some friendships that have been molded at these events. I'm just always amazed how close everybody is. And it's really a great opportunity to welcome others in the industry to come join us.
Yeah, so talking about the science, I don't know if I've told you this story or not, but it is kind of interesting. One of our trainers talks about a conference that he went to several years ago where they had a room full of people, maybe 200 people, and the speaker got up and he said, okay, so you've got this house and you've got a truckload of air movers, and you've got a water restoration job you're going to do. How many? And he gave him all the calculations. He said, how many air movers do you want to put in the job? And he had people guess, this many. He said, no, whatever you have on the truck.
Well, that is one strategy that may or may not work, but
unfortunately, I think that's the way the industry in a lot of ways has been driven. Not so much now. And truthfully, the class that we're going to be teaching, the class that we've got for 2 days in this particular event, is called ISSS. It's interesting. It's called Indoor Air Quality Strategies, Sampling, and Solutions. And so what we're doing is we're taking a couple of modules that we typically train in our regular licensing class, and we're saying, okay, so I'm going to develop a strategy for what kinds of samples and how many samples I'm going to take on this particular project, because that strategy that you develop is actually based on that particular environment, where the complaint areas are, how large it is, airflow, what kinds of contaminants you're looking for. And so developing a strategy on how to take the samples is always answering the question that a lawyer is going to ask you, and that's why. Why did you take that sample? Why did you take it there? So that's one section of this class. Then we're going to talk about all the different types of sampling that's available to us, not just swabs and aerosols, but we've got Air Answers device, Respirair, mycotoxins, VOC sampling, MVOC sampling, all of this type of sampling that we have those options. We're going to talk about that and do some hands-on in this class of what kinds of samples you can take. And then there's that third section, which, okay, I found the problem. Now, what's the solution? And there are some great technologies out there. We've talked about the trademarked MCI, multi-cluster ionization technology, other HEPA filters. What does a HEPA filter do? What does it not do? All of those kinds of solutions that we're going to offer. Fogging, we're going to talk about that. What's dry fogging? What's heated fogging? How does that work? How does it supplement the process? So we got a lot to talk about in 2 days, but that 2-day class, which is really exciting for us, will give anyone who has a Florida license 14 hours of continuing education. And if you're in the state of Florida and you have a Florida license, either assessor or remediator, you have to have 14 hours of continuing education by August of this year to actually get that license renewed. And that's what this course will give you. those 14 hours you need. So that's what I'm going to be teaching about. What else have you got going on, Larry, on the training side?
Well, I want to ask another question or make a comment, which is we have people coming that are in the water damage restoration business. And for a long time, we didn't really understand in that industry what testing was about, why it was necessary, and why we as an industry really need to understand the importance of what's happening during testing, what those results mean. Now, not in every case will you do your own sampling. You may have an outside person there, but you may be in Bozeman, Montana, and there isn't someone there to do sampling. And so maybe you are doing your own sampling and you really need to learn the protocols involved. So this class is fantastic, and it's a great opportunity for our industry to really dive in and understand more about what's going on.
Well, you're exactly right. And let me just tell you this, because this is new. You didn't know this, but we just added into our CMR class, the remediator and restoration class, water testing, because when you go on a project, you better know whether you're dealing with Cat 3 water or not. And the way you do that is with testing, water testing. So we've got a sampling tool now that we can use to test for that, which is going to make it easier, oh, by the way, to get your insurance carrier convinced that the problem has to be solved.
So the lick test won't work anymore?
Yeah, it'll work one time, just one time.
Well, we were looking at your class and we said, the one thing that people need help with, and especially me all the time, is social media, marketing, and getting jobs. And so what we decided to do was to add a 4.5 to 5 hour workshop, hands-on, where the attendees are all welcome to come. There's not an additional charge, but you bring your computer. We're going to be working online and interactively to learn more about social media. And so we have your own Lance Eason teaching with Becky Tomino, and myself and my daughter Jillian will also be assisting. And, we've learned a lot from Lance and Becky, and we try to apply it all the time. But, something that's critically important that I'm going to teach is presence on a video. How do you sell yourself and your knowledge to a customer when you're talking right into social media? How can you get them to pick up the phone and call you when there's an emergency? So there's a lot to learn. Becky's taught us so much over the years. She's coming in from Texas to teach for us for a couple of hours. Lance is going to pick up a big part of it also about all the different social media areas. And you guys do some amazing work getting the message out about Normie. And we all have a lot to learn, and we don't want to take up a whole day, but we want to take up some valuable hours where we can all learn from each other, and especially from Becky and Lance, about how to improve your own social media. So bring your computers. That will be the first day. And then the next 2 days we'll be working with Doug and his team. And so there's a great education program. But I know there's a pool right outside that is the biggest pool I've ever seen with a swim-up bar. And right past the pool is the ocean. So there's a few distractions that could get in the way of the success of these classes. But really, the class will be really successful if you do take the time to relax. You bring your wife, spouse, partner, kids, whoever it is, and enjoy. And at this point in time, Doug, we don't have a lot of rooms left, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But we are really excited to add a few more remediators and restoration companies to come join us. And we're really looking forward to meeting everybody. And what a great opportunity to just kind of breathe a little bit and let it all out before you jump back in when you get back.
Yeah, you know what my wife said when she saw the flyer, Larry? She said, well, it looks like you've got a lot of classes to go to while I'm at the beach. So,
that's a smart woman.
Yeah, I'm saying. So let's talk about 2 ways that they can get this information, because we do have a website. at events.normie.org, events.normie.org. You can go in there and you can download, there's a little video there. You can download the flyer, and that'll give you contact information to get directly connected to Larry. And can I say this? I think there's also, aren't there some payment options that they might be able to do if they're running a little tight on money?
Yeah, they're running out of time. So right now they would need to put down half and then 30 days later pay the second half. And in the next week, it'll all be one payment because we're reaching that point in coming up onto April so fast. It's amazing. Kind of cool. I went online and I booked my airfare for like $450 round trip. So that was really nice also.
Mine was very inexpensive too. I'm shocked at how inexpensive it was.
Yeah, I'm taking some granddaughters to Europe in June for graduating high school, and my God, Europe right now, it's $2,000 a person. It's just like, oh my gosh. It'll come down again someday, hopefully soon. Yeah. But that kind of gives you a big picture. You can also go to restorationjourneys.com. And at restorationjourneys.com, you'll see all the information about the event and the hotel. And there's a registration form there. Or you're welcome to call and talk to Jennifer or Jillian or myself. And that number's 303-469-0306. That's 303-469-0306. As soon as I said the number, it started ringing. That could be a good thing.
That is a good thing. And we'll put a tag on the end of this video with a slide that has that information on there for everybody. But Larry, I want to thank you so much, man, for being here today. It's always fun to see you and good to talk to you, and looking forward to a really fun time in Puerto Vallarta.
And I can't wait to be with you and your whole team and all of our attendees. I'm just planning to relax and have a great time. And, if I'm sleeping at the pool, don't wake me up.
Oh, I won't. And one of the other things we're working on is we're going to try to get some swag out there. So I'd love to have some stuff with some logo, Normie logo material out there. Since it's our 20th birthday, why not, right?
Absolutely. We're looking forward to celebrating with you. Fantastic. Thank you guys so much. We just really have enjoyed and continue to enjoy working with Normie, and we just hope you continue to grow and thrive.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. I'm going to turn it back over to Lance. Lance, it's yours.
Thank you, guys. And, when I started this today, I had said how difficult it was going to be to interview you two. No, I didn't say that, but I meant to. That's what I mean. I want to thank you guys for making this really easy on me. And it's enjoyable watching the two of you go back and forth with an interview style conversation. So thank you again. I want to thank you both for taking the time to do this. And I'm ready for April. I'm ready, guys. I'm ready to go. So
fantastic. Can't wait to
see you on the beach.
Thank you.
I want to welcome today's guest, Dan Reese, who is and I'll use the terminology that he prefers, a wildfire strategist and aviation advisor. So I'm going to say, Dan, say hello to everybody, and I'm going to follow it up with, could you explain what that is? Because it's a big set of terms, and I really want to understand it.
Sure, got it. Well, thank you for having me here today, Lance. So in my career, I finished out mostly in tactical air operations for wildfire events. And after I left, I started a consulting firm, International Wildfire Consulting Group. And that was shortly after I finished running Global Supertanker Services, which ran the 747 Global Supertanker, which was an air tanker, aerial firefighter with a 747. So I help people who call me engage with questions regarding wildfire. Oftentimes it's technology, or it's chemicals, or it's process. It might be, something along the lines of NASA presentations for people who want to engage with NASA, or new equipment like say a fire nozzle. People who want to understand what it takes to engage in the wildfire community is pretty much what I do.
Well, it's interesting. I actually, before we went live here, did a quick research on you with LinkedIn and a few other sources. And just what you're mentioning, it's kind of interesting, where I saw an article that you were involved with for water conservation and firefighting, just by changing the shape of the nozzle and the stream of the water flow. It cuts it like in a third. So,
Correct.
I mean, that's kind of interesting stuff. I'll tell you what, though, some really sharp images and photos of those big planes dropping the fire retardant, on the site. So it's pretty impressive. Anybody watching this, you may want to take a look and find him on LinkedIn. Pretty interesting stuff out there. But before we started today, we were talking a little bit about the difference between the central part of the U.S. and the East Coast and California, which is where you're from. Now, California's been dealing with wildfires forever.
Correct.
The new phenomenon that's affected us on the East Coast, and I'm in New Jersey, is smoke from Canada, hundreds and hundreds of miles away, causing this choking of the air quality, not just outside, but inside of our homes. So what do you see, what we're facing now compared to what you normally deal with in California?
Well, it's clear and beautiful, and a really moderate temperature here, this summer with the weather patterns, which is really nice. I think that El Nino probably has something to do with that. As I watch the news sources and the science research with the polar vortex, collapsing somewhat and changing the airflow and the cooler weather, it's really nice here in California. And we've not had the fires, this year that we've had in the last several years, and the air's been clear. So it's been really nice. A little agonizing to see what's happening on the East Coast and the Eastern Seaboard and in Canada, where we don't typically see that. And ironically, we see a lot of fire on the West Coast, and it's highly publicized, but in the Southeast of the United States, there's a huge number of fires there that occur typically annually. Although I don't think in scope and size of what we see here with the integration of the population in what we call the wildland urban interface. But the smoke conditions definitely will get people's attention. And when we start seeing entire towns, being razed, like Paradise and Greenville and the towns up in Oregon and now Canada, it definitely starts to get people's attention.
Well, I've seen a big change in, I don't want to say weather patterns, but just because of the way we've been for the last, I'd say 3-4 weeks here in the Northeast, we haven't had rain. I mean, everything's extremely dry. Now, normally for us, June, we usually run that week or 2 or 3 of, we'll run those 85, 90 plus degree temperatures, and they start calling it the heat wave and everything else. We haven't had that, which I'm not complaining about. But the point I'm trying to get to is, when these fires produced this smoke that came down on the New York, New Jersey area, we actually got a glimpse of almost the start of what a nuclear winter would look like. And yes, it sounds very dramatic to say that, but we were barely getting to 70 degrees when the normal temperatures are 80, 85 for us here in New Jersey this time of the year. And we were told by the Weather Channel and all the other officials that are talking about it, that there is so much smoke in the air, it's blocking the sun from its normal thermal heating during the day. I mean, I have solar panels on my house, and I see my production was down, at ground level. It was horrible. So this is what you deal with out in California. We're only getting a glimpse of it now. And truthfully, we've been spoiled, out of sight, out of mind. We hear about the fires in California and okay, on with our business. I mean, this brings it home to us. And I think it's an opportunity for you to explain to us what we should be expecting and, what happens, because this may not be just a short-term thing. It may continue.
No, unfortunately, I would say that for the people on the East Coast, you're in it for the long haul until such time that the weather patterns change and these fires are naturally mitigated. We can make a difference. When I say we, and the fire service can make a difference when these fires are smaller, when they are in their incipient stages, when we get on and we can handle aggressive initial attack, and we've got the weather, in our favor to be able to make that attack successful. Unfortunately, what most people don't realize is once these fires become of that magnitude and size to where they're calling them mega fires, we can black the sky out with aluminum, meaning air tankers and aircraft, and that's all limited. And the bigger they get in scope, the more resources they demand. And we have a finite number of resources internationally and nationally, whether it's in Canada or the United States. No one agency can be fully prepared for this type of event, right? We have agreements that are between local agencies. We have state agreements. We have federal agreements. We have international agreements where we have standardization that takes place for everybody to engage. But, when we lack the capacity to adequately attack these fires when we can, that will cost us, and trying to build capacity during the event is just impossible. And once these events get up and running, they become very, very expensive. So the catch really when they get this big is that we need the capacity to keep fires small when they first start. And when they get this big and they draw this many resources, we have in the fire service what we call drawdown, meaning we've drawn the resources so thin that now our ability to rapidly and successfully initial attack fires becomes compromised because we just don't have the resources there to do it. So for, my small part of life here on Earth and the fires that I've, had to deal with in these quote nuclear winters, and my first experience with that really was in 1987. And the scientists actually came out in the Happy Camp in the Klamath area of Northern California to study what a nuclear winter would be like, where we had these major fires going in August, and we have what are called inversions. So anybody that's been camping and seen a campfire burn, the smoke will rise and then it'll kind of flatten out and form a haze. And that's what you're seeing here, only on a massive scale. And it does get cold. Unfortunately, those fires burn. They continue to burn under those inversions. And then when the inversion gets hot enough, we have what we call an inversion break, where all of a sudden the air will escape up through the inversion, and the fire takes off madly for several hours under the inversion. But once they get to that point, it makes it very difficult for aviation resources to be successful to even get in to help the people on the ground, because it's just so smoky. We can't safely operate those aircraft in those spaces. So unfortunately, I think right now it's going to be enduring, right? The population that's being impacted there on the East Coast and the central United States and Canada are at a point, unfortunately, where they're going to have to endure until Mother Nature changes her mind.
What you're talking about resource-wise, is this what's caused some of the problems in Canada, not being able to get a handle on these fires?
Well, I think it's important to put a couple of things in perspective. Fires traditionally need to burn. I mean, that's one way that Mother Nature, takes care of dead and dying material, beetle kill. There's a lot of reasons for fire to burn that's good. Managing fire during peak burning conditions is almost virtually impossible. It only takes a few degrees of relative humidity, meaning the moisture in the air, or a change in wind to really affect what a fire does. So when we talk about resources and capacity, it becomes part of a matter of perspective. It's kind of like insurance, right? Do we want to spend money to build capacity so that when these events happen, we can really go after them? Or do we bet on the come that it's not going to happen? And unfortunately, when we listen to climatologists and scientists around the world and we experience what we're experiencing, where we see years and years and years of dry weather, where we see reservoirs drying up, where we see millions of trees dying, that just all adds to the fuel, no pun intended, for these fires to really take hold and go. And there's two ways fires are put out. A, Mother Nature lets them die out naturally, or B, there are firefighters on the ground that actually go dig those fires out and around to make them go away. So capacity, I think in Canada right now, you're seeing probably firefighters from around the world responding. I know that aviation resources and hundreds of firefighters from the United States are battling those blazes. And I'm sure that there are people from Australia and probably many other countries engaging to help, Canada. And it's not just a regional North American problem right now. We're having this problem. We don't see it, in Siberia, in Asia, in Europe, where you see fires, burning in Germany, where they don't typically burn. And when that doesn't happen, people don't think that they need to get prepared because they don't think it's going to impact them. And unfortunately, for those on the eastern seaboard here in the United States, that they don't really realize the impact that they are contributing to, say, tax-wise, right? We have realized and unrealized costs of fire suppression in this country in the tune of tens of billions of dollars a year, which really affects the GDP of the United States. So wildfire is a big problem, whether you're experiencing that smoke or not. We're all going to pay for it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And to bring it down to a level where people watching this will have something in common with, recently we had the heavy smoke conditions. And that's what I'm going to call the smoke conditions. And they were telling people, stay inside, avoid going outside. Now, we know from the indoor air quality side of our industry that the inside air is normally up to 10 times more polluted than the outside air. So we're already now telling people to stay in an environment that we know is more polluted than the normal outside air for them breathing. We have sensitized individuals. There's a whole class of people that suffer because of that. But also because of the building codes, commercial buildings, public apartment complexes need to bring in fresh air on their heating and air conditioning. So now the systems that are ventilating the inside of their buildings are bringing in this air from outside, which is all smoke, VOC laden with chemistries. And that's a whole nother side that nobody's prepared for, because you still have to breathe. You can't hold your breath for 5-6 days. That doesn't happen. And we use an example in some of our teachings about the importance of breathing. And we say some people are able to go 20, 30, 40 days without eating, 3, 5, 7 days without water, 4 to 6 minutes without air.
Correct.
So it's not like you can avoid breathing. So you have to do things that are going to help. And that comes back to your point before about preparing ahead of time. We don't spend the money on the resources. I've been involved with the government world for many, many years from my background, and money was not usually spent on preparedness. It was always throw money at it when there was a problem. And to your point, if you don't stop these things when they're very small, they become unmanageable.
Correct. Capacity it's a big deal, right? Being prepared both nationally and internationally is extremely important. My background really, I put myself through school fighting fire, and putting myself through school, I became a critical care nurse. And so I worked as a critical care nurse for several years prior to me becoming a firefighter. So it's concerning to me. I have two children, one 16 and one 19. And we were impacted, for instance, by the Camp Fire, which burned the town of Paradise down. And in that fire, I think there were upwards of 20,000 structures that were burned to the ground and 80 some odd lives lost. And that fire burned into my town. That's where it stopped. But my children were exposed to something that I chose to expose myself to as a professional firefighter. And that's unnerving, because it's not just the smoke that you burn, that one breathes in the minute. It's the side effects many years down the road that impact, firefighters. And firefighters are notoriously prone to all different kinds of cancers, and they're called assumptive conditions that the government pays for when we get it, and oftentimes our lives are cut short. So that's what goes through my mind. And personally, when we were inundated with that kind of smoke, I did limit my children going out, because the air, like it or not, was worse outside. I did ensure that they were wearing N95 masks, similar to what people did, and I'm sure have in their possession as a result of COVID. Anything to be able to catch that particulate, changing out the filters, regularly in my home. Those were all things that were, top on my mind, just from my medical background and being conscientious of my firefighters when I was in the station, as it related to, diesel exhaust fumes and the bays when we were pulling engines out or pulling engines in, right? That wasn't a place to idle, because we just didn't want to be breathing that. Same for the public.
There's an educational component that is missing in many industries. And in our industry, again, out of sight, out of mind, because you don't see the microscopic particulate and organisms and everything else that you inhale, people don't think about it. But when you're dealing with the fires, again, when it's in California, here on the East Coast, we don't think about it. We don't see it. It's not affecting us on a daily basis. But the submicron particles that are in these smoke plumes that are going out, they go straight into your lungs, and they pass right into your blood system and all the chemistries that are associated with them.
And there's thousands.
What's that?
There's thousands of these, even just from a burning pine tree.
Well, and I've heard people even talk about, well, it's a campfire or it's a fire pit. We do this all the time. Well, that's true. But the factory up the street that burned with ethyl methyl nasty stuff in it, that's now aerosolized in the flames, that's the stuff that's involved in what you're breathing because of the homes that burn, the factories that burn, and all the things that are inside of it. Just the glues that are in the furniture, that you're sitting on, is all poisonous to inhale. And again, to me, it's an educational piece that people don't understand about emergency medical services, about law enforcement, about firefighting, that I look at this as an opportunity to provide awareness. Something as simple as a firefighter coming out of a burning building, the last thing you would want to do is cool him down by hosing off his turnout gear while he's wearing it.
Or give him a hug.
Or give him a hug. That jacket could be 300, 400, 500 degrees. As soon as you hose it down with water, you've created instant steam and you've scalded that individual.
Well, the technology has changed drastically, from the time when I was a young firefighter. Nomex was just coming out, and that's the protective clothing that wildland firefighters wear. And my first several years of fighting fire, I did not wear Nomex. And then when I was in the structure world, in the municipal world, I had one set of turnouts, and those turnouts were by my bed, by my bunk. When the bell rang, I would jump into them and go to a call and come back and peel them down, put them right next to my bunk, and go to bed. That's just not the case anymore with what science has shown us and the medical world. Now, firefighters typically have two sets of turnouts, and they rotate them through structure fires, and they go right to the extraction machine, and they have to go out and be professionally extracted if you're following an FPA every now and then. I used to go do school programs with the kids, and I'd have my turnouts and let them get in it. Turnouts are the gear, that we wear. and let them touch and feel and see. And now that's even been outlawed, where, you know, nothing that's been in a fire like that can go into a school. It's new turnouts that have never been exposed to smoke. A lot of changes environmentally in our profession, which, you know, I think it's important for the public to understand the reasons for that. And it's important for the public to protect themselves as well, you know, such as the things we just talked about: changing filters, not going outside, you know, having your kids wear a mask. I mean, if I have 2 masks and I'm going out with, you know, 2 kids, well, the kids are going to wear the mask, not me. I'm going to endure that change. But, you know, it's a matter of perspective and doing what you can to research on your own. You know, read about the effects of smoke and what science is showing. Read about the cost of fires and what's causing it. And it's a very complex, wildfire is very complex, simply because there are those fires that need to burn, and there are those fires that probably should be put out.
From your experience in California, your years firefighting, and from dealing with the smoke out in the California area, what would you say to the people in the middle part of the country and the East Coast that have experienced this? And the wind could shift tomorrow, and the fires that are still burning could cause this to come down on us again. What would you recommend them doing as far as indoor and outdoor air quality, and what things to be aware of odor-wise and things like that?
Well, wildfire smoke has, in my experience, 2 different kind of smells. There's a smell when a fire is going through a residential community, for instance, when we have many homes burning and it smells like a structure fire, or if anyone's thrown, you know, plastic garbage and things into a campfire, you kind of have that acrid smell. And that's the nasty stuff that you don't want to see burning, and you definitely don't want your children burning. As firefighters, sometimes we can't get out of those situations where my firefighters could put on a self-contained breathing apparatus. We call them SCBAs. Until that smoke was clear, that's what they did, and their turnouts were washed. So for those in the public, it really is limiting your exposure outside when you're listening to the environmental air pollution control advisories. Those people that are susceptible to lung issues and problems, I would speak to your doctor. I would see what kind of HEPA filtration systems that could be put into your homes, you know, to help filter that smoke in your homes. And once again, my children, I put them into masks, no different than when they were in COVID, when they were walking around out there, when they had to be out. Otherwise, I kept them indoors.
Yeah, just to a point that you just made about wearing masks, the N95 masks, N100 masks, whatever you're able to get, they work great for particulates, but they don't do anything for the VOCs, the volatile organic compounds, which is the gases and the chemistry in the air. Right. That you need scuba gear, like you're talking about, you know, self-contained breathing apparatus. Mm-hmm. And the public isn't going to wear that.
No.
So staying inside, it's really your best bet, you know, at this point, and try to avoid these situations if possible.
Agreed.
All right. Well, you know, I really appreciate your time. You know, this is all about a public education and awareness that we're trying to push out there. There's many other segments that we will be playing following this. And I really wanted to set the stage, which is, I feel we've done that, as to the problem that's out there. It's not going away. It wasn't the 3 or 4 days that we had here, and the problem's never going to come back. It's things that we need to be aware of.
Correct.
And I really appreciate your time and help with that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today, Lance. Appreciate it.
Be safe, and good luck with your new adventures out there. And I look forward to seeing some more of those interesting images and videos of all these firefighting planes and stuff you got out there on your site.
Yeah, there's some amazing pilots and people. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Welcome to IAQ Basics 101, Managing the Air We Breathe. My name's Doug Hoffman. I'm the Executive Director of NORMI, the National Organization of Remediators and Mold Inspectors. IAQ Basics 101 is a class offered through besttrainingschool.com. This copyrighted presentation will discuss the problems of indoor air pollution as well as solutions to those problems. There are multiple ways to deal with indoor air pollution, and I suppose this picture addresses one of those. The EPA and other government agencies suggest removing the source of the pollution, but as we will see, that's not always possible and is not necessarily a viable option, especially since we ourselves are the source of much of the pollution indoors. Dilution with fresh air makeup is also suggested as an option, but that's not always possible, and in many cases it allows us to bring even more pollution from the outside into our living space. This class is designed to talk about the seriousness of the problem, the sources of the problem, and the real holistic solution to managing indoor air quality. Whether in a residential, commercial, industrial, or institutional environment, the solutions are the same and effective to reduce microbials, particulates, and other contaminants that pollute our indoor breathing space. Several years ago, normie.org started a national survey asking homeowners in particular to rank their indoor air quality from 1 to 10, 1 being poor, 10 being excellent. And so the question, how would you rate the indoor air quality in your home? Now, with several thousand responses, the evidence is clear that most people, in excess of 90%, rank their indoor air quality at a 7 or below. That many people recognize that they have a problem, but not quite sure what that problem is or who to call to resolve it. This short course should help put those concerns to rest by suggesting the sources of the problem and the solutions that are effective in improving indoor air quality in virtually every single case. We are not unaware of the problems in our homes and offices. Many people react to the contaminants that exist in our indoor environments, and there is even an entire segment of the medical industry that now recognizes and treats the symptoms of environmental illness. The AAEM, American Association of Environmental Medicine, has been a leader among doctors in training and helping them resolve the problems that people experience as a result of indoor air pollution. No longer are those affected shuffled off to a psychiatrist or disregarded as a hypochondriac, because more and more evidence is coming to light every year on the devastating effects of long-term, low-level pollutants on our health and general well-being. Allergy, lethargy, overall unproductivity are now being associated with many of these contaminants, and property owners, managers, and doctors are interested in finding solutions. This class allows you to take a giant leap toward a holistic approach to dealing with indoor air pollution. But first, you must understand what comprises or makes up the contaminants that we breathe every day indoors. You could classify every single component that affects indoor air quality into one of these 7 components. And if you know what the problem is, the solution is easier to understand. As I've said many times, prognosis without diagnosis is malpractice, and so it is with indoor air pollution. If you don't understand the problem, then you don't have a solution. If you do understand the problem, and you understand that it's multifaceted, then you will understand that the solution must then be multi-strategic. There is no one-size-fits-all, or just put this machine in your house and all will be well approach to solving these issues. It's about dealing with all of them in a synergistic way. So let's talk about each of these as we see them in our environments and as they pollute those environments. Particles. That's a dust mite. 32,000 of them on an ounce of dust. And there are a lot of people who are allergic to dust mites because dust mites love to eat organic material, dead skin. And when they eat that dead skin, they do what other animals do, and that becomes aerosolated. And that dust mite feces has enzymes in it that makes people allergic to it. And so dust mites obviously are a problem, and what they do after they eat becomes a problem. But there are other things in the environment floating around as well: pollen and mold spores, particulates that need to be taken out of the air that we breathe. There have been multiple studies about submicron particles and how they actually get past our natural filtering systems, the nose hairs, the hairs in our lungs, and actually can even be brought into our bloodstream. And so dealing with particles, of course, is an extremely important way of dealing with indoor air quality. Unfortunately, in the indoor air quality business for the last few years, so much emphasis and focus has been put on particles that some of the other problems that are in the environment have been ignored. And so a lot of effort has been made to make really good and efficient filters, but that's only one solution to one specific problem. Odors. In our environment, we have odors, all kinds of odors. Sometimes those odors are symptomatic of gases. Sometimes they're symptomatic of other things like cooking odors or secondhand smoke. But odors are a tremendous allergen, and it's an indoor air quality issue that needs to be addressed. Gases. Of course, I tell people in our indoor air quality classes that we have enough chemicals under our kitchen sink to kill a couple of elephants. But the truth is that we have all kinds of things in our environments that are off-gassing different types of chemicals. You think about walking into a room that's just been painted. That room smells. There's your odors. But those odors are actually coming from gases from the paints and the VOCs. Those gases will continue for years and years, sometimes up to 10 years, after the smell of the new paint has gone away. Formaldehyde, glues, OSB, carpeting, all of these things put off gases. Some of them we smell, some of them we don't smell. Usually at this point when I'm talking about indoor air quality, I talk about these three as they're really evidenced by secondhand smoke. A single cigarette produces over 4,000 chemical gases, 43 of which are carcinogenic. And in most cases, when they try to take cigarette smoke out of an environment, like in a bar or a restaurant, they use a filter, and so they're successful at taking the particles out, but it still smells like an ashtray, and that's because they haven't removed the gases and the odors that remain. So if you were going to have a multi-strategic solution to secondhand smoke, you'd have to have something that would deal with not only the particulates, but also deal with the gases and with the odors. And then, of course, we have biopollutants, and we think about mold because it's something that's very obvious, and there's been a lot of press about it, but there's all kinds of biopollutants in our environments. E. coli, salmonella, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, MRSA, all kinds of things going on in our environments that actually become aerosolated. Now, that's not because the bacteria has wings and can fly around, but it does in fact travel on the dead skin cells and other things that are floating around in our environment. When I talked about particulates, one of the things that I didn't really mention but is one of the biggest pollutions in our environment is our cells. We actually put off dead skin cells. And if you look at a shaft of light in the morning and you see all of those things floating around, 80% of that, according to scientists, 80% of that is dead skin. Well, that dead skin becomes a little magic carpet ride for bacteria and for viruses and other types of biopollutants. And so biopollutants are a major issue not only on surfaces but also when they become aerosolated. That's the fourth component of indoor air quality that needs to be addressed. Temperature and humidity. Obviously, as the temperature gets high and the humidity gets high, much greater chance of mold growing. Even when the temperature gets low and the humidity gets low, there's a good possibility that bacteria will grow. And so one of the things that we do in our trainings is we talk about trying to keep the relative humidity between 40 and 60% so that there's a less possibility that contaminants will actually grow in that environment. But these two components obviously need to be addressed. In the air conditioning industry, they talk about combining these two, and they deal with what's called psychrometrics and how the two actually work in environments to keep air cleaner and how they can make the air conditioning systems more efficient. Temperature and humidity. And then the seventh component is comfort, and that's how air moves in the environment. You know, when you're in an environment that's got stagnant air, where it's hot at your head and it's cold at your feet, it's extremely uncomfortable. By getting the air moving, by using ceiling fans, leaving the air conditioning system on so that it's actually moving the air, not only are you keeping a more comfortable